issues here at the Geeky Homestead. For whatever reason, my voice is not completely synced with the video. I noticed it the last video. I tried to fix it for this video, and it is just not happening the way that we want it to. And I have got to get this filmed for you guys because we're running out of time. So I'm gonna refilm this for the second time, and hopefully everything goes like it should. We also had a tiny snafu with the original intro, so if you saw that, lucky you. There's a different one now musically. Yeah, anyway, so tonight we are going to talk about the most haunted places in America. It is mostly buildings, hotels, couple lighthouses sprinkled in there, and there is at least one place that I have covered in full, like a whole video on my channel about, but I'll tell you about that when we get there. So you might hear Lucy rumbling around. Sorry about that, but if y'all have clingy dogs, you know. Alright, so we know the United States as the land of spacious skies and amber waves of green, but it also happens to be the land of a million ghosts. Take a coast-to-coast tour with me of the most haunted places in America, where lingering spirits roam the halls of hotels, abandoned insane asylums, Broadway theaters, and even a city zoo. And if ghosts aren't really your go-to travel companions, don't worry. These sites offer enough culture, history, and beautiful scenery to keep you firmly planted in this realm. So we're going to start with a place that I know I want to stay. I don't know about Sean, but I know Sean's mom wants to go to this place. This is the very infamous Stanley Hotel in Estes Park, Colorado. The Stanley's stately Georgian architecture and world-renowned whiskey bar have lured travelers to Estes Park since the hotel opened in 1909. But the Stanley reached new levels of fame after inspiring Stephen King's fictional Overlook from The Shining. Now, that eerie association aside, many other ghost sightings and mysterious piano music have been connected to the hotel. The Stanley Hotel leans into its reputation quite cleverly, offering nightly ghost tours and psychic consultations from their in-house medium. Now, I read that Jim Carrey once stayed at the Stanley, and he stayed in the same room that Stephen King came up with The Shining, and he did not even make it through a whole night before he left. So, you know. Eastern State Penitentiary, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The castle-like Eastern State Penitentiary took solitary confinement to a whole new level when it was built in 1829. Prisoners lived alone, exercised alone, and ate alone. And when an inmate left his cell, a guard would cover his head so he couldn't see or be seen. The prison actually had to abandon its solitary system due to overcrowding in 1913 until it closed in 1970, although the forms of punishment did not get any less severe. The site, one of the most haunted places in America, now welcomes thousands of visitors every year, both for its museum and the annual Terror Behind the Walls celebration, which features 6 haunted attractions within the prison walls for Halloween. Reported paranormal happenings have included disembodied laughter, shadowy figures, and pacing footsteps. Next is the house that I covered during, I can't honestly remember if it was Spooktober last year or 13 Nights of Halloween the year before. spirits of gunshot victims. To keep away the vengeful spirits, she commissioned the Victorian funhouse turned macabre dwelling into what you see today. Some of the creepier features include a staircase to nowhere, a seance room, doors that lead to brick walls, and windows that take you to secret passages. If you've not heard about that house, definitely check it out. It is crazy. I think it has like 160 rooms. I think if I remember correctly, there's like 47 bathrooms or something. Absolutely crazy. They do flashlight tours around Halloween, and I really, really want to go there. I'm gonna make Sean take me someday. Hotel Monte Vista, Flagstaff, Arizona. I'm pretty sure he just told me no. Oh no, he said yes, he'll go. Okay. Flagstaff's Hotel Monte Vista has its fair share of paranormal guests who have truly overstayed their welcome, including a long-term boarder who had a habit of hanging raw meat from his chandelier in room 210, and 2 women who were thrown from the 3rd floor and now attempt to asphyxiate males in their sleep. There's also reportedly an infant whose cries have sent staff members running upstairs from the basement. Yeah, I don't know, something about kids just creeps me out. St. Augustine Lighthouse, Florida. The lighthouse is visited by nearly 225,000 people annually, but it's just as well known for its otherworldly visitors. Several tragic events have occurred at this now historic site that have been contributed to alleged paranormal activity. One of the first was when the lighthouse keeper fell to his death while painting the tower. His ghost has since been spotted watching over the grounds. Another event was the horrific death of 3 little girls who drowned when the cart they were playing in broke and fell into the ocean. Today, visitors claim to hear the sounds of children playing in and around the lighthouse. Pine Barrens, New Jersey. I included this one because of the what you call cryptid that lives there, but the heavily forested Pine Barrens spans over 1 million acres and 7 counties in New Jersey. The area thrived during the colonial period. It hosted sawmills and paper mills and other industries, but people eventually abandoned these mills and the surrounding villages when the coal was discovered to the west of Pennsylvania, leaving behind ghost towns and, some people say, some supernatural wanderers. The most popular Pine Barrens resident is without a doubt the Jersey Devil. According to legend, the creature was born in 1735 to Deborah Leeds, her 13th child, with leathery wings, a goat's head, and hooves. It flew up the Leeds chimney and into the Pine Barrens, where it has been reportedly killing livestock and creeping out South Jersey residents ever since. Next is another place on my bucket list, the House of the Seven Gables in Salem, Massachusetts. No, this house did not steal its name from the classic novel. In fact, it inspired the novel. Aside from being the site of the most famous witch trials, Salem also happens to be the birthplace of Nathaniel Hawthorne, who used this 17th century house as inspiration for his famous 1851 novel, The House of the Seven Gables. Aside from its beautiful yet spooky facade, the house is surrounded by tales of paranormal activity and ghost sightings, all based on personal experiences of the staff. Every October, the house offers spooky tours as well as weekly performances of 2 plays, The Legacy of the Hanging Judge and The Spirits of the Gables. Following right up after that, another some patients are said to linger. There are ghost tours available for those wishing to see how the patients lived and died within the cramped walls of this asylum. Poinsett Bridge, Greenville, South Carolina. Built entirely out of stone in 1820, the oldest bridge in South Carolina is also one of the state's most haunted spots. The bridge is believed to be frequented Poinsett Bridge in Greenville, South Carolina. Built entirely of stone in 1820, the oldest bridge in South Carolina is also one of the state's most haunted spots. The bridge is believed to be frequented by the ghost of a man who died there in a car accident in the 1950s, as well as the ghost of an enslaved person. Another eerie legend tells of a mason who died during construction and is now entombed inside. Visitors to the site have allegedly experienced everything from floating orbs and lights to disembodied voices. Okay, sorry, I had to take a brief pause. Faulkner House Books in New Orleans, Louisiana. Back in 1925, a 27-year-old unknown writer named William Faulkner rented some rooms in the heart of New Orleans French Quarter. Today, those same rooms serve as Faulkner House Books, a tiny bookstore and literary landmark honoring the man who wrote such iconic novels as The Sound and the Fury and As I Lay Dying after his stint in New Orleans. The bookstore's collection ranges from first edition classics to city guides of NOLA, but the store has one particularly spine-chilling claim to fame. The space is reportedly haunted by, you guessed it, William Faulkner himself, with people claiming to smell his pipe tobacco and even spot his image sitting at his original writing desk. Whaley House, San Diego, California. Thomas Whaley built his family's estate in 1857 in San Diego on the former site of the city's first public gallows. Why would you do that? Shortly after he moved in, he reported hearing the heavy footsteps of Yankee Jim Robinson, a drifter and a thief who was hanged at the site 4 years before the house was built. Whaley's family history ended up being filled with tragic deaths and suicides, many of which occurred inside the house itself. Some of the family members reportedly still haunt the landmark, often accompanied by cigar smoke and the smell of heavy perfume. The Myrtles Plantation, St. Francisville, Louisiana. Built in 1796 by General David Bradford, the Myrtles Plantation is considered to be one of America's most haunted sites. The house is rumored to be on top of an Indian burial ground and is home to at least 12 different ghosts. Legends and ghost stories abound, including the tale of a former slave named Chloe, who had had her ear chopped off by her master after she was reportedly caught eavesdropping. She got her revenge, though, by poisoning a birthday cake and killing 2 of the master's daughters. She was then hung by her fellow slaves, and Chloe now reportedly wanders around the plantation wearing a turban to conceal her severed ear. The Crescent Hotel, Eureka Springs, Arkansas. When I read about this one, I was like, what? Okay, since its construction in 1886, the Crescent has served several purposes: a luxury resort, a conservatory for young women, a junior college, but the strangest mark haunted by at least 8 ghosts, from a 5-year-old girl to a bearded man with Victorian clothing. Dock Street Theater, Charleston, South Carolina. One of the oldest theaters in America, this site in downtown Charleston has racked up a lot of history over the years. After a fire burned down the original theater, the Planters Inn was built on the spot. It was converted back into a theater in the 1930s. The most flamboyant ghost at this theater is Nettie Dickerson, who, legend has it, was struck by lightning while standing on the balcony of the hotel. Her shadow has been reported gliding along the second floor of the theater, dressed in a red gown. Also in otherworldly attendance, Junius Brutus Booth, a renowned 19th century actor. He used to frequent the inn, and if you think his last name is familiar, you're right. He was the father of the man who assassinated President Abraham Lincoln, John Wilkes. The Mitzpah Hotel in Tonopah, Nevada. I'm sure I messed that up. This hotel opened in 1907 as one of Nevada's first luxury hotels, complete with solid granite walls and Victorian decor. It was fully restored in 2011, but this swanky hotel has a history as blood red as its decor, one that it proudly embraces. Legend has it that a woman died on the 5th floor and her soul never left the building. The lady in red now reportedly makes her presence known by whispering in men's ears and leaving pearls from her broken necklace on guests' pillows. The Mitzpah honors, or maybe capitalizes, on a reputation by letting visitors stay in the Lady in Red suite and by serving Red Lady Bloody Marys at the hotel restaurant. The Red Onion Saloon in Skagway, Alaska, established in 1989 as a brothel for miners during the Klondike Gold Rush, Alaska's Red Onion Saloon has a feature that set it out apart from other bordellos by far, and it really creeped me out. It used dolls to help run its business. Every day, 10 dolls would be placed on the bar downstairs, each one representing a woman who was working upstairs in one of the rooms. A customer would choose one of the dolls, and at that point it was laid down flat upon the bar to indicate that that particular worker was occupado. When the customer came back downstairs, the doll would be returned to her sitting position to let other potential clients know she was available. Fast forward to 2019, when the Red Onion Saloon still operates as a bar and restaurant. The dolls are still on display, and now they offer tours of the upstairs rooms, who are preserved as a sort of makeshift brothel museum. As if the dolls weren't creepy enough, there are reports of Lydia, a former madam at this brothel, haunting the site, complete with cold spots, lingering smells of perfume wafting through the halls. The San Fernando Cathedral, San Antonio, Texas. The oldest church in Texas holds the El Mariachi Mass on Sunday, and it is a stunning example of Gothic Revival architecture. But come nightfall, you'd kind of have to be something of a daredevil to enter its myth-ridden grounds. When construction workers started renovating the church in 1936, they unearthed bones, nails, and tattered military uniforms near the altar, which some people believe to belong to 3 soldiers of the Alamo. Since this disturbing incident, visitors have reported shadowy figures and orbs in their photos, as well as ghosts at the back of the church. Otherworldly inhabitants include a man dressed in black and figures in hooded monk-like clothing. Thomas City Cemetery, housing some 35,000 bodies. The cemetery was eventually moved due to its proximity to the city's water supply. Ew. And most of the bodies, but not all of them, were moved along with it. If you've ever seen a horror story, which I'm imagining most of you have, you know that messing with burial grounds is pretty much like the easiest way to get haunted. And the Lincoln Park Zoo, no exception. As if walking above several thousand corpses isn't creepy enough, famed parapsychologist Ursula Belinsky once called the area, without a doubt, the most active site I've ever investigated. People have reported seeing ghosts there since it opened 150 years ago. But there's no animal ghosts, just so you know. The New Amsterdam Theater in New York, New York. All of Thomas's story reads like the plot of a Broadway musical. She came to Manhattan at the age of 16, quickly won the title of the most beautiful girl in New York City, and became a member of the legendary Ziegfeld Follies. Ziegfeld Follies. She died in 1920 at the age of 25 after swallowing mercury pills. I'm not really sure if she did that on purpose. It wasn't long before her specter was spotted backstage at the New Amsterdam in full Follies regalia, carrying a blue pill bottle. She has since been spotted many times at the theater, almost exclusively by men. Theater employees still bid her good morning and good night to her portrait hanging backstage. The Moon River Brewing Company in Savannah, Georgia. Considered one of Savannah's most haunted locations, the brewing company has played many roles before becoming the beer and restaurant house it is today. The building began as a hotel in 1821, then served as a hospital for yellow fever victims during the Civil War. Needless to say, this building saw a lot of death during that time. Many people believe some of that energy still lingers. Many of the restaurant's guests have reported seeing a woman in period clothing standing at the top of the staircase. Other sightings include a taunting spirit named Toby in the basement, a spirit named Mrs. Johnson upstairs. But as long as you stick to the main level, you should be able to enjoy your beer in peace. This is another one I'm going to say incorrectly. Calcaskew Courthouse, Lake Charles, Louisiana. Tony Joe Henry was a former sex worker who reached national levels of infamy when she killed a man in cold blood in 1940. It took 3 trials for a jury to convict the charming Tony Joe, but she eventually became the first and only woman in Louisiana to be executed by the electric chair. However, her spirit is said to have remained within the courthouse itself, where workers can feel her presence and even smell her burning hair. Many claim that she meddles with everyday life at the courthouse in order to make life more difficult associated with the temple, however, is that of its architect, George D. Mason. Legend has it that Mason went bankrupt funding the construction and then leapt to his death from the roof. Now, you'll be hard-pressed to back up this tale, but it certainly does help explain reports of a ghost climbing the steps to the roof of the building. The last one that I'm going to cover is another one on my bucket list. The Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast, Fall River, Massachusetts. Without a doubt, the most famous bed and breakfast in New England is the Lizzie Borden house in Fall River. For those unfamiliar with the story, police accuse Lizzie of brutally killing her father and stepmother with a hatchet in 1892. She was acquitted of the murders later that year. At the Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast Museum, visitors can tour the house or spend the night, even in the room where Abby Borden was killed. Guests and employees have reported all kinds of strange activity in the house, including hearing crying and footsteps and an apparition in Victorian-era clothing wandering the halls, doors opening and closing, and muffled conversation from vacant